In a quiet room, two people are seated close together, a man and a woman. The woman is Leticia Violett, and she looks up at him with a calm yet intense gaze. Without a word, she comes closer and kisses him, her lips brushing his in a soft, lingering moment. The man pauses, surprised, and looks down at her as if searching for an answer. He wants to know why she did that, what the meaning behind it is. She looks back at him and reminds him of what she told him before, that they need to leave everything behind, to let go of their past. That's why he used magic to change her appearance, she explains. It's all part of trying to forget, to start fresh. As she gazes up at him, Leticia notices how he towers above her, his presence both strong and weary. He looks like a man who has seen more than his share of life, as though he's been drained of hope or desire for anything more. Strangely, it's exactly this quality that pulled her toward him, this sense that he's finished with everything. It's what makes her feel close to him, what makes her trust him in this fragile moment. He sighs, his expression softening as he tells her not to worry about it too much, that she doesn't need to read into things. He brings up her husband, reminding her how he abandoned her and left her to be with another woman. The betrayal feels like a distant memory, and our girl's face doesn't change. She tells him there's no point in holding on to the past. That chapter of her life is closed, and she doesn't want it lingering between them now. Here she is, with him towering another her, feeling his presence close to her. With this man, who feels perfect in his imperfections, she knows she's exactly where she needs to be. She doesn't understand entirely how this happened or why she feels this way, but she's certain of one thing. She loves the feeling of being in his arms, of his warmth and quiet strength surrounding her. It brings a peace she's never known, and for once, the past seems like a shadow far behind her. It's a bright morning, our girl is having breakfast with her husband Astor Winchester. He tells her that they should get a divorce. She's surprised, replying that that's a very bad joke to do on their wedding anniversary. He continues, telling her that he has found someone he truly loves and he wants to be with the person. She stands up in anger, asking him how he can say that. He asks her if she wants to argue about the matter. Their servants are around listening. She says yes, asking him if he knows how much money she has spent to help him. He replies that he has paid back the debt. She tells him that it's not about the debt, that he should be grateful, that he wouldn't have been where he is today if she didn't lend him that money. He's getting tired of the conversation. He tells her not to talk about things she doesn't understand, reminding her that he has already paid her back the full amount of her investment, adding that he might have done it past the deadline, but still. She looks at him, furious. He has always been like this. He always tried to downplay the situation, as if he's not at fault. She tells him that it's exactly because he paid her past the deadline, that her family fell into ruins. She reminds him that her father was forced to make a very difficult decision, because of him. She wonders how he could say that. It doesn't matter if one doesn't have money in an aristocratic society. But once one's honor and status is lost, it's over. Her father, the head of the Violett family, went bankrupt because he wasn't paid back his investment on time. So he decided to end his own life to take responsibility for his debt. There's only one reason why her father gave Astor that money. It wasn't because he was the husband of his beloved daughter. She asks him if he's planning to marry the woman. He claims ignorance. She asks him if he thinks that she won't know, adding that if that's not what he wanted, he wouldn't be asking for a divorce in the first place. He tells her to stop, that he doesn't want to waste any more time on her, adding that they should discuss the monetary compensation instead. She tells him to stop talking about money, adding that money is useless, because it won't bring her father back to life. She decides that she's going to throw back at him all the bad things he have done to her. She promises to show him how much of a scum he is. He stands up in anger and hits her, asking her why she's always bringing that up. He tells her that that's something of the past, adding that even his father would be tired of hearing her bring that up every time. He tells her that that's why he's so sick and tired of her. He adds that he doesn't care how emotional she is right now, he won't allow her to treat him like that. He continues, telling her that he finds her marriage with her suffocating, that it feels like he's being chased by debt collectors every day. He tells her that he gets so angry every time he sees that self-pitying face of hers. He tells her that he doesn't care if she thinks that he's the worst person in the world, but is going to divorce her. He removes his ring and drops on the table. He tells her that he also wants to be happy, that he wants to have a normal family like everyone else, with a woman he genuinely loves. As he walks out, he tells her that he also wants to have a child. A child who looks like him. He adds that she can't give him that. She sits outside in the garden, thinking about what just transpired. A child. Did she really just hear him say that? He knows well that the reason she can't have kids is because he pushed her down the stairs out of anger when they were kids. He had apologized then, and swore to marry her. He had begged her to let him marry her so that he can repay her for the rest of his life. That's what he swore back then. He said he was going to stay by her side forever. Now, he's proposing to someone else. How can he do this to her? Sitting alone in the garden, her head lowered as she wipes away tears, she feels the weight of everything pressing down on her. She hears footsteps approaching and looks up to see her mother-in-law walking toward her, her husband at her side. The elderly woman's face is set, her eyes sharp as they fall on her. She pauses, then asks if she has spoken with Asta. Our girl nods, her voice trembling as she begins to answer, trying to explain the reason her husband is leaving her. She wants to share the pain that has been building up, to let someone understand what she's going through, but her mother-in-law doesn't let her finish. The woman raises a hand, interrupting her mid-sentence, and calmly says that she already knows everything. The older woman's words cut like a knife. She doesn't show any sympathy, any understanding. Instead, she says it's all her fault. She tells her that she should have taken better care of herself, that she's brought this upon herself by neglecting her body. Her voice holds a sense of finality, as if this explanation is simple and undeniable. The girl listens, feeling each word sink deeper. Then, as if to make her point even clearer, the mother-in-law says she's glad her son is divorcing her. There's no kindness or warmth in her tone, just cold satisfaction. She even goes on to say that she hopes the girl can somehow manage to live a good life somewhere else, somewhere far away. Our girl sits there in silence, too stunned to respond, as her mother-in-law adds one last remark. She says she doubts anyone else will accept someone as defective as her, implying that her value has been lost entirely. The words hang in the air, cruel and unkind, settling over her like a heavy, suffocating blanket. She feels herself sinking deeper into sorrow, as the woman's final words echo in her mind. She turns to her husband and appeals to him to say something to our girl for the last time. The man walks to her, calling her. He tells her that he knows how hard she tried to have a baby. But not everything is going to work, because she tried her best. He adds that no matter how hard a hatchling runs, it will never soar up high with the adults. He asks her if she understands what he just said. Her mother-in-law tells her that her things have been packed and kept on the porch. She tells her that she has also called a carriage as her last favor to her. She continues, saying that she doesn't care where she goes, but as long as it is not in their mansion. She adds that they shouldn't see themselves again. Outside the mansion, there's a carriage waiting with our girl's things on it. She can't believe it. It's as if they were waiting for the divorce. She looks at the belongings and discovers that they are not complete. She had many more things when she arrived at this mansion. Suddenly, someone throws water from the wall and it falls on her body. The person quickly agrees that it's her fault, asking if she's all right. She's Olivia Winchester, Asta's little sister. The young girl tells her that she didn't see her there. Smiling, she asks if the water was really cold. Olivia tells her that she helped to pack her belongings herself, so she should not worry. Our girl looks up at Olivia and notices that she's wearing her clothes, the one her mother-in-law gave to her when she came to the mansion. The young girl asks her what she's talking about, adding that she must be mistaken, because those clothes has always been hers. She tells her that she wanted to see her off, but she's very busy now. Walking away, she announces that they are going to clean the master bedroom for their new guest. Our girl can't believe it. Are they going to clean her bedroom for that woman? How could they? Some servants came and drags her into the carriage, with her struggling, but she's no match for them. She can't believe that that's how it's going to end. Just moments ago, she was a member of this family. But in the blink of an eye, suddenly everyone treated her as if she was never part of their family. At the Violett's family mansion, our girl arrives there and reports her ordeal to her stepmother. Her stepmother can't believe that Asta asked for a divorce on their wedding anniversary. She's of the opinion that after he has taken the head of the family away from them, the least he could do was to take care of the female lead. She recalls that it's because her father wanted to help her husband, so he invested in his business, which led him to make a fatal decision. She remembers that there was a time when he even criticized her as a bad stepmother. Yet he dares to ask for a divorce. The woman continues, still angry. She reminds our girl that if it weren't for her husband, her father wouldn't have died in the first place. She tells our girl that since her sister died of a sickness, she should do like her and die, now that she's useless. She tells our girl to get out. Our girl is surprised. Her stepmother continues, asking her why she even bothered to come here. She tells her to get immediately, and never think of coming back again. Outside, our girl is stranded. She didn't expect it to end like this. Now she doesn't have anywhere to go. She lived like a lost fool and lost the man she loved. She walks to a river in the woods. She feels it will be better if she just jumped into the river. A voice stops her. She turns and sees Asta and his young girl together. He tells her that he didn't expect to see her here. The young girl beside him tries to walk away from him. He tells her to be careful, that it's slippery around there. She thanks him, calling him Artie. She's Lianka Snowwider, his mistress. He hugs her and tells her to feel free to do as she wishes. She walks towards our girl and asks her if she's okay. Our is silent. Lianka continues, telling her that it's cold outside. Holding her hands, she notices that it's so cold. Our girl still looks on, not saying a word. Lianka tells her that if she's okay with, she should walk with her along the riverbank for a while. Adding that there are a few things she'll love to talk about with her. Withdrawing her hands, our girl replies that she doesn't want to. Lianka, still unperturbed, whispers to her that it's for her own interest. That it's about what happened to her father before he died. Our girl asks her to repeat what she just said. The mistress, seeing that she's interested, comments that she really loved her father. She looks at the female lead face and tells her that she doesn't think she'll want Asta to see her like that. Our girl looks at her. She wonders why she's talking about her father. The mistress tells her that she should relax and follow her quietly. That they have to go quietly, so that he won't hear them. She tells her not to get too close, that she doesn't want her pathetic scent rubbing off on her. That last sentence pisses our girl off. She's the one who chose to stay with a married man on purpose. How can she be such a sly and hideous woman? After walking further away from, the mistress tells her that they are okay. As she's about continuing, our girl hits her, telling her that that's for insulting her father's name. She tells her to say whatever she wants to say and end it quickly. She repeats herself again, saying she should say that thing she wanted to say. Lianka holds her chin and smiles. She tells our girl that she's very funny. She asks her if she knows that people make extreme decisions before they die. For example, writing their final will, people always want to make that part clear before dying. Our girl replies that her father never changed his will. The mistress tells her that her father tried to modify the will so that she would inherit the majority of his fortune. She asks her whether her father died before being able to modify the will. She asks her who benefited the most from his death. Our girl looks at her speechless. Is it Lenia? Lenia was an aristocratic relative. She was poor and her husband fell sick. She was in a desperate situation with her young son. At that time, her recently divorced father felt sorry for her and accepted her as his wife. If her father had modified his will as Lianka said, perhaps her father's fortune would not be what it is now. Lianka asks her if she's wondering why her father thought of making such an extreme decision. She asks her if her father really died of an illness. She continues, saying that if she doesn't believe her she can check. She tells her that Lenia lives in a secluded place, very few people know her. Our girl asks her why she's telling her that. Lianka replies that first of all, she hates Lenia. That she has been trying to seduce Asta for a long time. Our girl is surprised. Lianka continues, telling her that he didn't even look at her, but she undressed, pretending to be drunk. Coming close to our girl, she tells her that the other reason is because she feels sorry for her. She stabs her quickly and pushes her to the river before our girl could know what is happening. Lianka tells her that if she does without knowing everything that happened, she will be too pathetic. She tells her that she can peacefully accompany her deceased father now. Our girl falls into the river. That hurts. Her heart is broken. She sacrificed everything to be with him. Her father, her family, herself. In the foot of the river, someone holds her and kisses her. She's still crying. He begs her to stop crying. She doesn't know what's going on around her. He lifts her up gently. Speaking to her as if she's awake, he tells her not to stray too far. After a while, she wakes up. She looks around and can't recognize anything. She wonders where she is. She tries to sit up on the bed. She discovers that someone has healed the wound in her chest. A man with long hair walks in and is happy that she's awake. He tells her that it's annoying to have to hold her every night. She looks at her and recognizes him. She asks if he is Prince Sionin of the empire that performs miracles. He says that she's correct. She asks him why he saved her. He replies that he's going to do the asking first. He tells her that she's the only legitimate daughter of Count Violett. He also adds, asking if she isn't the daughter-in-law of Marquis Winchester. He asks her why she was wounded with a dagger, and then thrown into the river. She touches the spot as he says so. He comes to her on the bed and tells her that he barely managed to stop the bleeding, adding that he will have to heal her again. He begins to perform the process. She's surprised. Another man walks inside, calling on to Sionin. He tells him that she has barely woken up, and he is already bothering her. His Moha Shan, an assistant to the prince. Shan walks to her and apologizes, saying that the prince is not a bad person, but is a bit arrogant. He tells her that she must be surprised to wake up in an unfamiliar place. He continues, telling her that they are in the ship of the West Empire. Her mind works fast. West. To the west of the northern land, the so-called Holy Empire, where the gods remained until they died. Perhaps that's why special people were born among the imperial family. Sun Ian has the power of God. She wonders why he's helping her. He tells her that she shouldn't worry, that they're not heading to the western continent. She asks him how they found her. He tells her that they were visiting the northern land and enjoying the view, until they saw the body of a lady on the riverbank. He tells her that she had a dagger, buried in her chest. That she was about to die. She asks if Sun Ian was the one who healed her. He replies positively. She blurts out that he didn't have to do that. Shan continues, telling her that the prince had to act quickly, that small wounds heal on their own. But her wound was so severe that they had no choice. He apologizes for embarrassing her. She asks if her family has been notified that she's alive. He replies yes, that he sent a messenger to them, but they had already held her funeral. She's surprised. He tells her that they said she had depression after the death of her father, so she couldn't bear it and jumped into the river, that her stepmother saw her. She can believe the story that was made about her. He tells her that they found it strange to see a dagger on her chest. The prince asks her if her stepmother stabbed her. His assistant replies that it must be the stepmother, because she was the witness. The prince reminds him that he wasn't asked the question. Our girl tells them that it wasn't Lenia. That she was stabbed by her husband's lover Lianka Snowwider. Shan asks her if Lianka is the woman with blonde hair and pink eyes. She says yes, asking if he knows her. He replies that he doesn't know her, but his messenger saw her. He tells her that he heard Lianka cried sadly at her funeral. He asks her if she plans on going back to her husband now. She replies no, that there's a possibility that her husband is also involved. She wished she had died in the river. No, she can't die. She feels she doesn't deserve to die, that it's them. She wants to make them pay for their sins. The prince notices that her eyes have changed. He tells her that he wants to make her a proposal now that he has listened to her speak. He tells her that he will tell her how to make her revenge a success. Offering her his hand, he tells her that they will make them end up in ruin and have no choice but to commit suicide. He tells her that if she agrees and do what he says, she will recover wealth, honor and the life they took from her. She asks if there's a price that she must pay. He replies yes, that the price is the eternal death of Leticia Violett Winchester. That's what he wants in return. She thinks for a while and asks him if there's something he wants her to accomplish. He commends her inquisitive attitude. He tells her that there's a criminal in Northland who murdered his loved one. That in order to find him, he needs someone who is familiar with the society to get information out of people. He tells her that he will leave that role to her. He adds that he will give her a new identity, a new life. And with his authority, he will turn her into someone else. So that those who had abandoned her would not be able to recognize her. She asks if it's possible for him to change her face. He replies that it's possible, that he's the Almighty Sun. She asks him why he's doing all that, adding that they are both strangers. He holds her chin and tells her that they met on her wedding day. So they are not complete strangers. He reminds her that at time, they just exchanged a few words, but he didn't think that their relationship was at a level where such an important proposal could be made. He tells her that he remembers giving her a very important advice, which is to get away from Asta Winchester right away. Years back, on the wedding day, the place is filled with different guests, as they move about conversing. The hosts are surprised to find out that the setting sun is their guest. One of the girls tells others that he came accompanied by Calix, the second prince of Northland. Continuing, she tells others that legend has it that the sun was born into the royal family after 300 years. That he has the power to defeat magic and heal people, adding that she didn't expect to see him in person. Meanwhile, our girl who is standing beside her husband, could hear the conversation and turns to looks. Lo and behold, she sees Prince Sion and son Maya Summerhurst, seated. Asta's mother immediately accredited his presence to her. She tells them that he came because of Queen Anna, who is the mother to the second Prince Calix, who is also her childhood friend. She sends her daughter to ask the chef if he knows how to cook Western-style dishes. The message reaches the chef, and he tries to see how he can get around it. Asta's mother comments that the in-laws are too much. They should show more sincerity, because it's their only daughter's wedding. Asta tells her to stop talking that way. Resignedly, she comments that there's a popular saying that says when a woman comes in, the child becomes someone else. She feels that's what's happening to her son. Olivia asks her mother if they should ask the setting sun for a toast. Adding that if Sun makes the toast, the guest would not be able to say anything. And they'll never forget that. Her mother feels it's a good idea. So Olivia decides to go talk to him. As she walks away, her mother tells Asta to see the effort his sister is putting in for his wife. Referring to our girl, she tells her to watch and learn. After a while Olivia walks back angrily. Her mother asks her if he had agreed to make the toast. She says no, that he told her that if the newlyweds would meet him by themselves, then he would oblige the request. Asta feels the son is so arrogant. His mother tells him to go by himself and speak with him. He wonders why he should do that. Our girl, who has been silent all these while, feels if Olivia couldn't persuade the son, maybe she should. She tells her husband that they should go together and ask him for a congratulatory speech, adding that it will be good to raise the reputation of the House of Winchester. Her husband accepts, and they walk towards the son. As they approach him, Prince Calix addresses them as the protagonists of the wedding. The couple both bow down and greet the prince and also the great son. The son asks them if they are here to talk about congratulatory comments again. The prince looks at him. He asks if he said something wrong that he's receiving such look. Asta replies that if the people listen to son's congratulatory speech, all the difficulties that weigh on his family would disappear. The son asks him if he's serious, adding that he can't even remember their names correctly. He asks him if he thinks hearing a congratulatory speech from him would bring good luck. He tells him that there's no blessing for his family, so he should leave. Asta comments that it seems like he has come to the wrong person. He angrily walks away from there, leaving our girl behind. She tries to call him back, but he brushes her hands off, saying that he accepted to do that because of her. She isn't happy. The son asks the prince if Asta just walked away from his wife, because he is angry. Our girl bows before him and apologizes for what happened. She apologizes for causing him inconvenience with her selfish ambition. The prince tries to calm her, saying that it's necessary to such things on special days like this. She tells them to feel free and enjoy comfortable. As she's about to leave, the son tells her to wait. That he wants to give her an advice. He tells her to run away. She's surprised. She asks him what he means. He tells her that he means she should run away from her husband, that she would not be happy with him. Back to present, in the room. Prince Sionan tells her that she didn't listen to her advice before. He tells him that it shows how much she loved her husband. He continues, telling her that this is the result of that love. That it's as if she poured water into a bottomless well. She asks him if he can help her get revenge. He says yes. She tells him that she will accept his proposal. He announces that they have a deal. He tells her to lower her head and kiss the tip of his feet. She can't believe that. Shan tells her that in the Holy Empire of Westeros, it is customary to kiss the tip of royalty's feet when pledging eternal loyalty. He tells her that it symbolizes total submission and dedication of one's entire life to another. Our girl thinks about it. She have heard about that before. The founder of the nobility in Westeros was half man and half god. And he used his powers to obtain special oaths from his followers, and the custom became an imperial tradition. Still waiting, the male lead tells her that once she is his, she can no longer be Leticia Violett again. She replies that she agrees. A foolish woman scorned by a cunning lover, who held on until she was murdered. A fool who sacrificed all her family's wealth for her unfaithful husband. A submissive daughter, who took advantage of a loving father. This is a golden opportunity to erase all that. She kisses his feet. She tells him that he should keep his promise of getting her revenge. He holds her face and begins the rite. He calls her name and speaks that she will serve him as a vassal from now until the end of her life. Anne will obey his orders. Placing his glowing hand on her forehead, he asks her if she is nervous. She says yes. That it's not that she is afraid that her face will be ruined. He asks her if she is afraid of what will come next. She asks if he thinks she will be able to do a good job. He tells her to stop worrying about nonsense. That unlike those who becomes greedy when they receive something exceptional, he tells her that she's feeling fear. He tells her that he won't give her words of encouragement. That he won't even tell her that he trusts her. But he tells her not to underestimate herself. He stands as he completes the last rite. He announces that from now on Leticia Violett has disappeared forever. That from now on, she is the Countess of Kant Anna Rose Victoire. Her face is now different, with her hair now another color. She is really a different person. She looks at herself in the mirror, she can't believe the transformation. He tells her that with the way she is, even her biological parents won't recognize her. She keeps looking. This black hair is the same as Asta's. Her facial features have become more distinct, and her eyes have grown sharper. She notices that she has changed a lot, just by the transformation of her face. He tells her that it's quite an impressive transformation. His assistant comments that she now looks like a typical beauty from a famous painting. He tells her that she should follow her, so that they can finish the process. As she's walking out, she stops and thanks the male lead. He tells her that he doesn't need her thanks, that what he needs is her usefulness. He tells her to try not to become dispensable to him. Away from the male lead, his assistant is cleaning her up and adorning her with clothes. He comments that he doesn't know that she is an acquaintance of the male lead. She tells him that their relationship isn't close. He tells her that now that they are in the same boat, it's hard to label them as strangers. After dressing her up, he begins to brief her of her mission. He tells her that from now on, she will assume the role of a rising star in Kant. Bearing the name Anne Rose Victoire, a Viscountess. He continues, telling her that over the next year, she will need to receive all the necessary education. She asks if he means she will be going to the Kant region. He says yes, that she will have to learn the culture, accents and women's mannerisms there on her own. Kant region. It's in the south of Northland. As long as their abilities are sufficient, women can attain the title of Viscountess, or even Duchess there. But in contrast, in Northland, entrenched customs prevent women from inheriting titles. That's why our girl couldn't inherit the title, despite being the only child. She feels it's a favorable time to be part of Kent County, considering how she has always envied them. She tells him that she has never been to the Kant region, adding that she has never left Northland. She asks if that will be okay. He replies that in Kant, the common language of the continent is spoken. He asks if she is fluent in that. She says yes, but points out that their accent is different. He tells her not to worry. That although 1 year is a tight time frame, they will spare no effort to support her so that no one suspects anything. She thinks about what she just heard. A different appearance, a new status and a generous support. She promises to repay every ounce of kindness the male lead has shown to her. She feels pain on her chest and touches it, making a sound. He notices that her wound is opening again. She tells him that it seems like her blood circulation has accelerated due to spending a long time in the hot bath. He tells her to go to the male lead. She replies that there's no need for that. He tells her not to do that, telling her that he may like doing something that'll make people uncomfortable, but upon a closer look, he is quite a helpful person. She asks him what he means by that. He tells her that it means she doesn't need to try to match his mood or make him like her. That the only thing that matters to the male lead is how useful she is to him. He adds that since he doesn't expect to be treated as a superior, she doesn't have to be cautious around him. He asks her if it isn't a great thing to hear. She walks fearfully to the male lead's door and knocks. He opens the door and asks her what she needs. She tells him that her wound is bleeding again. She tells her that she didn't want to disturb him again, but his assistant insisted. He tells her to come in. She lies on his bed as he does the right. She asks him why it is taking much time for the wound to heal. He replies that there must have embedded something on the dagger, that it's not due to his lack of ability. She sits up and thanks him, saying that she feels much better now. He strokes her hair and replies that taking care of the horse is the owner's responsibility. Her heart beats fast. He is caressing her head, as if she is a dog. Yet she can help but wonder how long it has been since someone stroked her hair like that. He asks her if she still harbor any regrets about what she has left behind. She replies that she didn't really abandon them, that they were taken away and crushed. He asks her how she became entangled in such a situation by chance, adding that she doesn't look like that type of person to hold grudges. She tells him that it might be because she seemed too easy to approach. Just enough to leave a mark. Telling her that he has a question. He asks her why Northland women are so tied to their husbands. Adding that in ancient times, when a husband passed away first, there was a custom of burying his wife alive with him. She replies that it's not as severe these days, but it's still a rather conservative continent. He comments that her husband could still openly engage in an affair with pride even with the customs. She tells him that a man's infidelity isn't considered honorable. That it's seen as somewhat disgraceful, but it can be tolerated to a certain degree. As long as it doesn't disrupt the primary position, or the succession lineage. He asks her what happens if a married woman is unfaithful. She tells him that in Northland, if a married woman engages in an affair, she will be immediately expelled to her mother's house. That instead of a proper divorce, the woman would be required to pay a substantial amount of alimony to her husband and in-laws. She adds that children born from an affair would also lose their inheritance right. He tells her that the custom clearly puts women in a disadvantaged situation. She asks him why he is so inquisitive about the matter. He begins to come close to her, saying that notwithstanding any of those customs, he is able to do as he pleases. She looks at him, wondering what he just said to her. He holds her chin, continuing, he tells her that she was ousted even before committing adultery, and since she's dead, there's no need to pay alimony. He also adds that there are no offsprings to stripped of inheritance also. He tells her that it will be absurd to end up with someone worse than her ex-husband if she engages in adultery. Adding that, that's not progress, but a step backwards. Continuing, he tells her that he doesn't believe that he is lacking as a partner. He asks her what she thinks about it. She's furious. She asks him if that's what he meant when he mentioned useful. She's accustomed to being treated like a tool. She was a money-making toy in Winchester. And to Asta, she was a lifeless wife, likened to a doll. But now that she have been reborn, she vowed not to live the way she lived before. But in the end, is this the opportunity she was given? She pushes away, apologizing. She tells him that she wants to return to her room immediately. She walks out quickly, almost colliding with his assistant on the way. His assistant walks in and asks him if he had to mock her like that, adding that she has been through a lot of suffering, so he should go easy on her. The male lead replies that it's her fault for running away without listening. His asks him why he even pretend to suggest being lovers, saying that it is worse than a simple misunderstanding. The male lead tells him that he is being too loud, that he should pick up his clothes, now that he is here. His assistant asks him if he recalls that he is the son of the Chancellor of Westeros. He replies that he remembers who he is, so he should keep his mouth shut. His assistant tells him that certainly, he is not only a prince, but a soul, and it's expected for nothing to impress him. They are silent for a while. His assistant can sense that he's worried. He tells him that he understands that the situation bothers him, urging him to go and clarify any misunderstandings. That way, his plans won't be disrupted. Later that night, our girl is sleeping. She's having a nightmare. She's running away in the middle of nowhere, with Lianka chasing her with a dagger. She asks her if she doesn't want relief as well. While running, Lianka catches up with her and trips her to fall. She asks our girl if that's what all her efforts amount to. She could hear a voice of someone asking why they allowed a troublemaker like her enter their household. That she'd rather had died instead. Our girl is crying for help from the floor. Someone holds her hand, it's Asta. She begs him to help her. He leaves her hand, she falls deeper, telling her that no one can save her. He wakes up instantly from the bad dream. She walks out of her room into the dark hallway. On a table, she sees some drinks and decides to help herself from one. She can't bear it while staying sober. She wants to get drunk. The male lead's voice stops her. He asks her what she's doing. Collecting the bottle from her, he tells her that it's foolish to drink when one is injured. She tells him that the pain from the wound was so intense that she couldn't sleep. He tells her that she should have come to see him if she were in pain. He tells her to think about. He asks why she thinks there are no pain relievers around there. She looks at him and winces in pains. He rushes to her and checks her wound, it's bleeding. He tells her that it happened because she started the drinking. He uses his magical power to stop the bleeding. She thanks him, apologizing to him, because her presence makes him feel uncomfortable. He tells her that her presence doesn't make him feel uncomfortable. Instead, it's frustrating to him. He goes to a chair and sits, urging her to do the same. He tells her that her have unfinished business. She sits. He's disappointed that she drank to the point where she loses control. She apologizes for doing that. He comments that that's why he can't even play pranks with her. She asks to confirm what he said. He tells her that he proposed an affair, because it was one of the strategies to achieve revenge. He tells her that even if she comes back after a year of preparation in Kant, Northland is a country where it's difficult for women to live. He adds that there might be a time where she will have to borrow his authority. He tells her that if he had viewed her solely as a means to satisfy his desires, he wouldn't have extended an offer to her in the first place. She looks on in silence. She finds it embarrassing. Such a man would never desire her. She wonders what she was thinking. Slowly she tells him that she didn't realize that and misinterpreted his intentions. She adds that she even showed him the miserable side of her. She's speechless. He tells her that he have done his part in apologizing, but hasn't received an apology from her. She asks him what he should do to earn his forgiveness. Pointing to his lips, he tells her to try kissing the lips that toasted to her marriage. He tells her that if she does that, he will be willing to accept her apology. Seeing her hesitation, he reminds her that she had said she will do anything for revenge. He asks if those words were just empty words. She says no, and begins to stand up. She feels it's a test to see if she can convincingly act as his mistress. She feels it's not real. She reaches him and asks him to close his eyes. He replies that she's behaving like a maiden. She begins to kiss him, teasing him as she does so. He asks her if she's teasing him on purpose. She apologizes, saying it has been a while since she did that. She asks if she should try again. He tells her no, that is all right. He tells her to consider her request accepted. He urges her to return to the guest room. She's disappointed, it was a test. She bids him good night and leaves. As she leaves, his body feels so hot. He begins to remove his clothes, wondering why it's so hurt. His assistant walks him to see him bare-bodied and is surprised. He tells the male lead that he will submit a request for compensation, due to the emotional distress he just experienced. He appeals to him to approve it. The male lead looks at him for a while and tells him to leave. The next morning, our girl wakes up to the sound of people's voices. Standing up from the bed, she wonders what is causing the commotion. She walks out of her room and sees Shan talking with a man. She asks him what the problem is. He ignores her question and asks her if she slept well. She tells him yes, thanking him. She asks him if there's anything wrong with the ship. The man tells her that she shouldn't worry, that it's not a big deal. That she should just wait in the ship. The assistant tells her that it's not a big deal, that the engine just went off suddenly. She asks if it will take time before the engine fixed. He tells her that it won't be fixed soon. He tells her that she must be tired of staying in her cabin all day. She refuses to admit. He continues, telling her that the weather is fair enough, that she should take a walk around the port. He reminds her that she will be gone for over a year, so she won't be coming back to Northland anytime soon. Saying that she should just take one stroll around and bid it farewell. As she listens to his suggestion, she wonders who she's supposed to say goodbye to. There were the ones who told her to forget her past completely. He tells her that she should just wait, that he has a few dresses on board that he'll like her to try on. He adds that he's sure the clothes are perfect for a beautiful lady like her. He tells her to wait, while he looks for them. She sits before the mirror, staring intently at her own reflection, lost in thought. Her gaze traces every feature carefully, trying to make sense of what she sees. This face, the one looking back at her, it's hers, and yet, it feels unfamiliar. Just a short time ago, she looked different, like another version of herself entirely. How strange it is to be standing here, examining a face that's both hers and not hers at the same time. Could it be that? Her thoughts spiral deeper, imagining the possibilities of this transformation, wondering if there's more to it than she first realized. Just as she's beginning to explore the idea, her assistant's voice cuts through her thoughts, pulling her back to the present. He steps closer, watching her with a curious expression, and asks what she's thinking so deeply about. With a quick smile, she tells him that she was just thinking about how handsome the prince is. She tries to keep her tone light, shifting the conversation in a way that doesn't reveal too much of her inner thoughts. The assistant nods, agreeing without hesitation. He tells her that she's absolutely right. The prince's face is one of his strongest attributes, something that stands out and captures attention. She glances back at her reflection, her mind wandering again, unable to ignore the strangeness of this new face staring back at her. She admits that there's something else she's wondering, something she's curious to test. She asks him if her voice might have changed along with her face. It's a possibility she hadn't considered before, and now it hangs in the air like a question she doesn't yet know how to answer. The assistant laughs hard and asks her why she thinks that way. He adds that it has been long since the last time he laughed like this. He tells her that the male lead isn't capable of changing more than her face along with few other things. He tells her that they should try the outfits. A maid helps her dress and the assistant sees her and comments that she looks so beautiful. She thanks him. He replies that he only said the obvious. He asks her if she knows how to move around the port. She says yes, that she was born there. Northland's waterfront harbor. It's a place close to her home. She always followed her father a lot here to his business since she was young. He tells her that he heard there have been a lot of incidents around recently, because of gang activity. So he offers to send an escort with her just in case. He introduces her to a girl named Alexa Wolf. He tells her that she is a renowned soldier, known as Flash Sword of Westeros. Our girl looks at her. She thought she was a man. But she seems nice at least. She introduces herself as Leticia Violett. The assistant corrects her and she remembers. She quickly changes and tells her that she's Anne Rose Victoire. The young soldier takes her hand and kisses it, introducing herself also and tells her that she's at her service. That she will be in her care. They step out into the bustling crowd, moving slowly to take in the sights around them. The air is alive with chatter, and as they stroll forward, our girl looks back at the grand ship she just disembarked from. It's massive, shimmering in the light, and she can't help but comment that she didn't know that the ship she has been on for a long time is really fancy. Alexa, walking beside her, nods with pride and tells her that that's the pride of Westeros. It's called the Platina Celeste. Our girl smiles and nods in agreement, commenting that the name really does suit it. Suddenly, from behind, a voice chimes in, loud enough to catch her attention. The voice says only fools would need a ship that big, adding that, what's the point if most of the spaces are empty? Another person pipes up, asking, which one is their ferry? The voice is all too familiar, and our girl freezes, her heart skipping a beat. She turns to confirm her suspicion, and sure enough, there they are. Olivia and Clarice, standing close by, both squinting and looking around as if searching for something. They are trying to locate Asta's ship, but they seem baffled, glancing from one ship to another, each one appearing the same to them. Olivia's mother sighs, and comments that their ship really isn't as sophisticated as the others here. Our girl bites her lip, quickly ducking her head, hoping to avoid notice. She can hardly believe how oblivious they are. Asta's ship is right in front of them, and yet they haven't even recognized it. Then Olivia speaks up again. Turning to her mother, she tells her that they should get a new ship, she suggests, a hint of ambition in her voice. She adds that if the family business does well, we could afford something bigger. Something more, fitting for their family's status. Her mother nods thoughtfully, the idea clearly appealing to her. She tells her that they could even use her life insurance to pay for it, saying it with a subtle edge in her tone. Our girl stands there, wide-eyed, stunned by what she just overheard. If you're eager for the next chapter, drop a comment expressing your interest in a part 2. Don't forget to subscribe and ensure to hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time.